Today is the big day, awakening day for every senior student in Nanrong City. High above the skyline, a massive demon rift hangs like a glowing crack in reality. Inside the bus, the energy is through the roof. Most of these kids have been waiting their whole lives to find out what kind of powers they'll walk away with. Jiang Yan suddenly snaps awake, eyes wide and breath catching in his throat. He looks like someone who just barely escaped a total disaster. He scans the faces around the crowded bus, realization finally hitting him. He actually did it. He's back at the very beginning of his story. Looking out at the rift station, Jiang Yan remembers this morning perfectly. It was the day his entire graduating class went to discover their place in the world. It started 12 years ago when these demon rifts appeared without warning. The Nanrong Rift was one of the first, and it brought total chaos with it. Legions of monsters poured out of the portals, slaughtering humans on a massive scale. It was a massacre humanity wasn't even remotely prepared for. People tried to fight back, but the counterattacks were a complete mess. Just entering the demon world was a death sentence for most. To make things worse, modern tech was useless. Magical interference from the rifts completely disabled firearms and even nuclear weapons. Eventually, humanity discovered a new way to fight. Anyone who reached 18 and approached a rift could awaken a specialized class. These classes granted talent skills, giving humans the power to actually kill the monsters. After 5 brutal years of war, society finally started to stabilize. Humanity managed to secure the rift entrances and began pushing back into the demon world. Because of this, the entire world was reorganized around the power of the awakened. Now, every high school graduate is required to visit a demon rift to undergo the ceremony. It's the single moment that determines the rest of your life. Classes are split into 3 types: combat, support, and crafting. While the fighters are treated like celebrities, the others don't get much respect. Crafting classes are looked down on as simple logistics workers. In a world of monsters, nobody wants to be the guy stuck in a workshop. Jiang Yan stares at his hand, remembering how his first life went. He had awakened an F-rank crafting class, the ultimate letdown for a top student. But he also had a secret talent skill called Modify. It allowed him to change a single character in the name of a skill or item to completely rewrite its function. In his past life, revealing that power made him a target, he was immediately snatched up by the elites and forced to serve their interests. He spent his days transforming worthless junk into divine artifacts, making the powerful even stronger while he was kept as their personal tool. They feared what he could do if he grew too strong, so they kept him under constant surveillance. He was completely trapped, with eyes watching his every move. Then came the night a level 96 dragon-type beast emerged from the rift. It was a catastrophe that had never happened before. Jiang Yan had just reached level 70, finally entering the ranks of the elite. He suspects now that someone used that monster just to get rid of him. As he lay dying, he activated Modify one last time. He targeted his Revive skill, changing a few letters to turn it into Rebirth. The skill worked perfectly, sending his soul back through time instead of just healing his body. He was reborn right at the start. Back in the present, the bus pulls up to the station. The teacher calls out for everyone to get ready to head inside. Jiang Yan isn't worried about the people who wanted him dead. This time, the only person he's going to trust is himself. The bus groans to a stop right at the edge of the zone. This is it, the moment his new life truly begins. They've arrived at the Nanrong Demon Rift contaminated zone. Jiang Yan makes a silent vow to never tell anyone about his real ability. He plans to grow strong in the shadows while everyone else ignores him, saving himself, and the city starts with keeping his mouth shut. A small, determined smile touches his lips. He's perfectly fine with being seen as trash for a little while longer. The Hunter Association headquarters is a massive structure built around the Awakening Plaza. At the center, a swirling purple vortex marks the entrance to the rift. As the students step off the bus, the nerves start setting in. Everyone is terrified of ending up with a crafting class and a dead-end future. All eyes are on Jiang Yan as he walks past. As the top student in his year, the expectations for him are sky-high. Yang Hongwei, the second-place student, just scoffs from the side. He's been waiting years to see the genius finally fall on his face. He mocks Jiang Yan loudly, reminding the crowd that mana capacity doesn't guarantee a combat class. He's banking on Jiang Yan failing. The teacher puts a hand on Jiang Yan's back, telling him to go up first. He's hoping his best student will bring the whole class some good luck. The official leads the way up the massive stone, steps toward the awakening platform. He tells them to stay calm and just place their hands on the crystal sphere. Standing at the top of the plaza, the official calls out Jiang Yan's name. It's time for the top student of Nanrong #1 to step forward. Jiang Yan walks toward the glowing orb, his footsteps echoing in the quiet plaza. He's moving toward a fate he's already lived through once before. He stands alone in the center of the massive platform, the machinery of the station humming around him. The crowd holds its breath as he reaches for the crystal. He looks completely confident as he steps up. Unlike the people watching with high expectations, he already knows exactly what his result will be. The teacher and the other students are visibly tense, praying for him to get a combat class. They have no idea that Jiang Yan is about to become the biggest joke in school. Yang Hongwei's lackeys are already talking trash, convinced that a slum rat like Jiang Yan is destined for a useless crafting class. Jiang Yan places his hand on the crystal sphere, and the awakening machinery roars to life. A massive, claw-like structure holds the orb as purple magic circles erupt around him. Golden energy surges from the sphere, flowing through Jiang Yan's hand and lighting up the entire platform. This is the moment of truth that will define his future. A massive pillar of light erupts from the platform, swallowing Jiang Yan whole. The energy is so intense it swirls around him in glowing ribbons of mana. The light begins to fade, and a massive blue system screen materializes in the air. The word Repairman is etched across the center in bold letters. The full results appear, confirming the worst. Jiang Yan has awakened as an F-rank repairman. Despite having a perfect 100% mana affinity, his class is strictly for crafting. The teacher is devastated, clutching his head as he stares at the screen. He can't believe the top student in both academics and combat just landed the lowest-ranked class possible. Yang Hongwei and his friends are practically doubling over with laughter. They're thrilled to see the school's star student fall so far, mocking his new F-rank repairman status. Yang laughs so hard he can barely breathe, pointing a finger at his rival. For 3 years, he's been stuck in second place, and he's clearly savoring this moment of petty triumph. The awakening official tries to offer a bit of comfort, suggesting that a repairman can still make a decent living. Jiang Yan stands in the shadows, his expression unreadable as the crowd continues to jeer. Suddenly, the crystal sphere begins to hum with a new, even more violent energy. Crackling blue lightning starts to arc across the orb's surface, surprising everyone. The official's eyes go wide as he realizes the ceremony isn't over yet. He shouts out that the sphere is reacting again. Jiang Yan is awakening a second class. The teacher's face lights up with a flicker of hope. Dual classes are incredibly rare, usually reserved for the kind of geniuses who become world-class powerhouses. He wipes the sweat from his brow, praying that this second class will be the combat role Jiang Yan needs to save his future. He's desperate for a turnaround. Another massive explosion of light rocks the platform, even brighter than the first one. Swirling currents of blue and gold mana collide in a chaotic display of power. The smoke clears, and the second class is revealed to the world. A new screen appears, labeling Jiang Yan as a farmer. The final status screen displays the impossible, a dual-class user with 2 F ranks. Jiang Yan is officially a repairman and a farmer, the most useless combination imaginable. The faculty and the other students are stunned into silence. Even the official is at a loss for words, wondering how someone could get 2 classes that are each worse than the last. The crowd explodes into a fresh wave of mockery. They're calling him a double F-rank genius, laughing at the irony of a top student being so gifted at manual labor. Jiang Yan doesn't say a word as he turns and begins walking down the platform steps. He ignores the insults, focusing entirely on his own path. The teacher looks away, unable to watch as the students continue to whisper about Jiang Yan's terrible luck. To them, he's gone from a legendary prodigy to absolute trash. As he walks away, the murmurs follow him. Everyone assumes his years of hard work were for nothing, pitying him for his fall from grace. Jiang Yan doesn't feel unlucky at all. In fact, there's a slight smirk on his face. He knows that his classes might look weak, but his real power is hidden elsewhere. He keeps walking with his hands in his pockets, completely unbothered by the ridicule. The masses have no idea he's just awakened a talent skill that defies the laws of reality. The status screen confirms his assigned class is just a repairman, but the real prize is his secret talent. Modify. It allows him to change a single character in the name of any skill or item to completely rewrite its function. He has a guaranteed success rate on anything he owns, though messing with higher-level targets starts to get risky. He pulls up his private system window to look at Modify. This skill allows him to change the very characters in a name to fundamentally alter its existence. He focuses on his farmer class skill, digital particles beginning to swirl around his hand. He prepares to execute his first modification, changing Growth Boost into Revive. The original skill was a simple F-rank ability meant to speed up plant growth by a measly 10%. To most people, it would be a complete joke. With a surge of mana, Jiang Yan activates his talent. The system screen glitches and flickers with neon colors as the modification takes hold. The screen stabilizes, revealing the new skill, Revive. It's an SSS-tier ability capable of healing all injuries and even bringing the dead back to life. Jiang Yan smirks as he looks at his hand. With a trump card like this, he doesn't need a high-ranking class to reach the top. He makes his way to the city center, looking up at the massive pillar displaying the freshman rankings. He's already planning to take the #1 spot on every leaderboard. A look of cold determination enters his eyes as he walks. He's ready to show the world the true terror of being dominated by someone they labeled as F-rank. He knows that the top-ranked students receive resources beyond imagination, and he's not planning to share. In this life, he's going to become the strongest on his own terms. He arrives at the novice training base, a massive industrial facility designed for new hunters to level up. This particular zone is known for its charging rabbits. The base is stocked with weak demon creatures that are safe enough for beginners to hunt. For Jiang Yan, it's the perfect place to start gathering EXP. He knows that breaking the clearing record here will grant him bonus points for the upcoming provincial tournament. This is his ticket into a top-tier university. Jiang Yan strides toward the entrance, hands in his pockets. He isn't just here to level up, he's here to shatter every record in the building. At the registration desk, the base official checks Jiang Yan's student ID. He notes that this kid was the top student but only managed to awaken 2 crafting classes. The official is skeptical, wondering how a double F-rank artisan thinks he can survive in the dungeon. He doesn't see any combat potential in the boy at all. He looks up from his tablet and asks if Jiang Yan is seriously planning to challenge the dungeon solo. Even the beginner stages can be dangerous for someone without a combat class. He steps forward and places a hand on Jiang Yan's shoulder, trying to be helpful. He suggests that it would be much safer to join a party with some of his classmates. Jiang Yan looks him straight in the eye, his expression completely calm. He politely declines the help and asks for his basic starter gear to be issued. The awakening official sighs as he watches Jiang Yan walk away. He assumes the boy is simply unable to accept the harsh reality of his F-rank dual classes. He hands over the standard starter kit to the former top student. It's a meager set, just an iron sword and a pair of basic leather boots. Jiang Yan looks down at the equipment, nodding that it's actually slightly better than the single sword he received in his past life. He suspects the official is showing him a bit of pity. System windows appear for the items, an iron sword providing 5 attack power and leather boots granting 3 speed. Both are level 1 equipment. Jiang Yan offers a polite smile and a word of thanks. He doesn't mind the man's pity, even if he knows it's based on a false assumption of weakness. He steps toward the massive, industrial gate of the novice training ground. Behind those walls lie the charging rabbits he intends to use for his rapid growth. "Thanks for the warning," Jiang Yan says over his shoulder, waving dismissively to the officials. His calm demeanor is a sharp contrast to their concern. The heavy doors slam shut with a loud metallic crash, locking him inside the dungeon. He is now officially on his own, exactly where he wants to be. Once out of sight, Jiang Yan stops and activates his talent. Digital blocks and neon colors erupt around him as he calls upon the power of Modify. He targets the iron sword first. In a flash of light, the weapon is reshaped and strengthened, transforming from a basic iron blade into a more powerful steel sword. Next, he modifies the leather boots. They glow with purple energy as they become wind boots, now offering significantly higher speed and an additional percentage boost. Jiang Yan examines his newly modified sword. He knows he could easily turn it into a holy or demon blade, but he decides against it for now. He maintains a cold, calculating focus, reminding himself to keep a low profile. He knows the dungeon is monitored by surveillance cameras. The memory of being treated like a puppet in his past life still burns. He won't make the mistake of exposing his full talent too early this time. He decides that this level of equipment is more than enough for the basic zone. He isn't looking to draw unnecessary attention to himself just yet. The training ground is a massive, dark facility divided into 3 distinct sectors: the basic zone, the advanced zone, and the boss zone. From the shadows of the basic zone, dozens of glowing red eyes watch the newcomer. The monsters are already sensing a target. To break the record and secure his future, Jiang Yan knows he has to reach the boss zone and slay the strongest monster in the facility. A group of adult charging rabbits hops out of the brush. They are low-level demonic beasts with hard crystal armor on their heads, known for their aggressive ramming attacks. Jiang Yan readies his sword, his eyes fixed on the pack. His immediate goal is to hit level 5 right here by clearing out at least 100 of these creatures. One of the rabbits screeches, its red eyes glowing as it prepares to charge. It's much larger and more menacing than a normal rabbit. Suddenly, a massive swarm of the creatures erupts from the darkness, a literal carpet of monsters charging straight at him with their crystal-plated heads lowered. Jiang Yan doesn't flinch. He grips his sword and steps into the fray, his movements fluid and precise as he prepares his first strike. With a single, glowing slash of his modified blade, he cuts through the lead monster. The blue energy of his attack leaves a trail of light in the air. He becomes a whirlwind of steel, spinning through the crowd of monsters. Every swing of his sword sends rabbits flying, their crystal armor shattered. He moves with a speed that shouldn't be possible for an F-rank class, propelled by his wind boots and his own honed instincts from a previous life. As he fights, he thinks ahead to level 10. That's when he'll unlock a god-tier skill capable of creating ultimate demonic beasts. His resolve is unshakable. Every monster he slays is just another step toward becoming strong enough to never be a puppet again. He delivers a crushing blow to another creature, the impact sending out a shockwave. He's pushing himself to clear this stage as quickly as possible. While he's busy in the dungeon, he remembers that his rival, Yang Hongwei, should be undergoing his own awakening ceremony right about now. Back at the school plaza, the atmosphere is electric. The teacher calls out Yang Hongwei's name, and the arrogant student steps up to the crystal sphere. Yang Hongwei is sweating, his face tight with desperation. He's praying for anything, a B rank or even a C rank, as long as it beats Jiang Yan's F rank. The crystal sphere erupts in a violent explosion of mana and light. Huge ribbons of blue and white energy spiral upward, much more powerful than the average awakening. A massive glowing banner materializes above the platform. The word Berserker is written in jagged, fiery letters, signaling a powerful combat class. Yang Hongwei's status window confirms the result: an A-rank primary combat profession with 69% mana affinity. It's an incredible role for any student. Yang Hongwei throws his arms out and lets out a triumphant roar. He's ecstatic, shouting at the top of his lungs that he has finally won. The crowd of students is in shock. They can't believe the perennial number 2 has actually come out on top with such a high-tier class. Yang Hongwei stands tall, pointing a finger toward the sky. He declares that from this day forward, no one is allowed to call him second best ever again. A cruel smirk spreads across his face as he enjoys the attention. He finally has the power he's always craved. He shouts his own name to the heavens, letting the entire city know that Yang Hongwei is now the undisputed number 1 in the class. His group of lackeys immediately gathers around him, showering him with praise. They're already mocking the trash, Jiang Yan in comparison to their new boss Yang. Yang laughs along with them, wondering where that double F trash has run off to. He's almost disappointed that Jiang Yan isn't there to witness his glory. One of Yang Hongwei's lackeys leans in with a snide grin, reporting that he spotted Jiang Yan heading toward the novice training base. Yang Hongwei leads his group away from the plaza, his hands in his pockets and a malicious smirk on his face. They decide to follow the double F trash to the training base under the guise of offering help. The teacher watches them go with a deep frown, adjusting his glasses. He knows all too well that Yang Hongwei is just looking for a new way to humiliate Jiang Yan now that he has the advantage of an A-rank class. In the quiet of the night, a single light remains on in a classroom. The memory of Jiang Yan's relentless work ethic is well known, as he often stayed late into the night buried in his studies. The flashback continues to the sports field, where a younger Jiang Yan runs lap after lap under the hot sun. He pushed his physical limits until it was painful for anyone else to even watch. Even in the mana tempering room, he was an outlier. He would sit in the center of the surging energy with the pain threshold maxed out, never letting out so much as a whimper of discomfort. The teacher can't wrap his head around the result of the ceremony. He wonders how a student who sacrificed so much and worked so tirelessly could end up with the most useless F-rank professions. Wang Qingfeng stands at the edge of the crowd, slowly pulling a lollipop from his mouth. Unlike the others, he is certain that even an F-rank label won't be enough to halt Jiang Yan's progress. As the second-ranked student in both academics and combat, Wang Qingfeng has always been in Jiang Yan's shadow. He knows better than anyone the sheer ruthlessness with which his rival trains. He narrows his eyes, his mind drifting back to their freshman year finals. That was the moment he truly understood the gap between them. In the center of the school's massive arena, the two boys had faced off in a sparring match. Despite his own talent, Wang Qingfeng was utterly humbled by the intensity of Jiang Yan's assault. Even when bruised and battered, Jiang Yan's eyes never lost their focus. He was a force of nature that refused to be stopped, regardless of the toll it took on his body. Hearing that Yang Hongwei is heading to the training base to start trouble, Wang Qingfeng decides to follow. He won't miss the chance to see how his rival handles this new challenge. He walks with a calm, predatory grace, his gaze fixed on the path ahead. In his mind, he is the only person who has earned the right to defeat and humiliate Jiang Yan. Deep inside the training ground, Jiang Yan sits atop a literal mountain of slain monsters. He is drenched in sweat and panting heavily, having just aggroed and slaughtered over 100 rabbits in a single go. He leans on his sword, looking out over the dark cavern. He knows that only the Rabbit King remains, and defeating it is the key to clearing the zone and reaching level 5. The ground trembles as the charging Rabbit King emerges from the shadows. It's a massive beast with a jagged, glowing orange crystal protruding from its forehead and eyes that burn with a primal rage. A system window shows Jiang Yan's current state, level 4 with 94% experience. He is visibly exhausted, blood and grime staining his school uniform as he assesses the threat. The king of the low-level demonic beast snorts, lowering its head. The elemental crystal on its brow begins to hum with dangerous energy. With a deafening roar, the massive rabbit launches itself forward, tearing up the ground as it charges toward the weakened student. Jiang Yan watches the beast approach, his wind boots glowing with a faint green aura. He knows that a direct, physical clash with a level 5 boss in his current state would be suicide. The Rabbit King's crystal erupts into a violent blaze of fire as it activates its innate skill, Flame Headbutt. The air around it shimmers from the intense heat of the coming impact. Jiang Yan snaps his fingers with a sharp, metallic sound, his light purple eyes glowing with a cold intensity. He calls upon his Modify talent, having waited for the monster to reveal its ultimate move. The charging Rabbit King is about to land a devastating flame headbutt, but Jiang Yan isn't worried. He uses his Modify skill to change just one letter, turning the headbutt into a headburst. The new description is brutal. Instead of an attack, it causes the elemental crystal armor on the boss's skull to detonate instantly. It's a total self-destruction move forced onto the enemy. Unaware that its fate is already sealed, the giant rabbit screams and charges forward with its head glowing like a sun. It thinks it's about to crush the human in front of it. The moment the skill triggers, the Rabbit King's head literally explodes in a massive ball of fire. The headburst works exactly as advertised, ending the boss fight in a single second. Jiang Yan stands amidst the debris, barely breaking a sweat as the dust settles around him. He thinks to himself that a self-destruct skill really does work like a charm. The experience points from the boss kill flood in, pushing his level up again. A system window pops up to confirm he's officially reached level 5. Back at the training base, a massive announcement screen flickers to life, declaring the record for the Charging Rabbit's zone has been shattered. Jiang Yan didn't just beat the record, he absolutely obliterated it with a time of 26 minutes and 2 seconds. The other students can't believe their eyes, pointing and shouting at the screen in pure disbelief. The previous record was over an hour, and this F-rank guy just cut it down by more than half. Yang Hongwei stares at the board, his face twisting as cold sweat drips down his neck. He can't wrap his head around how a dual F-rank could possibly pull off something so impossible. The crowd starts whispering about the only logical explanation they can think of: cheating. If he really did cheat in the training base, his reputation is going to be completely ruined once he's caught. Yang Hongwei clenches his fist, his eyes narrowing as he vows to personally tear off Jiang Yan's fake mask. He's convinced the genius Sterntrash is pulling some kind of scam. Deep in the dungeon, the target of all that hate is just taking a breather on a rock, surrounded by a green glow. Jiang Yan activates a regeneration skill to top off his health before moving to the next stage. He looks ahead, already picturing his next opponent, the Cyclone Wolf King. In his past life, that beast was a nightmare that put him through the ringer, but things are different now. He stands up, grabbing his sword and shaking off the fatigue from the first zone. The warm-up is officially over. With the blade resting over his shoulder, Jiang Yan walks deeper into the dungeon with a determined look. He's not just here to level up. This time, he's going to collect some serious interest on everything he lost. Jiang Yan arrives at the Cyclone Wolf base. This place is famous for being a slaughterhouse for rookies, but he's not exactly a normal rookie anymore. Most freshmen are barely level 5 when they start, but the monsters here range from level 6 all the way up to 10. The Wolf King waiting at the end is a nightmare for anyone unprepared. For a regular student, picking this base is a one-way ticket to a world of pain. The intensity of these wolves is enough to break most people before they even clear the first room. But where there's risk, there's a massive payout. High-tier rewards are the only thing that can jumpstart Jiang Yan's plan to rewrite his destiny. A successful clear means hitting level 10 instantly. It's a shortcut that bypasses weeks of grinding, provided you can actually survive the slaughter. Normally, it takes 10 full days of hard work for a freshman to reach that milestone. Jiang Yan doesn't have that kind of time to waste. Reaching level 10 isn't just about stats, it's the threshold for awakening a second innate skill. That's the real prize he's after. Every second counts on his path to becoming the strongest. The faster he hits the level cap for this zone, the sooner he can move on to the real challenges. The senior staff member checking him in is skeptical, asking if he's really planning to solo a dungeon that usually requires a full party of 6. He warns Jiang Yan that even an A-rank genius ended up severely injured and missed his exams trying this. He doesn't think a kid with F-rank classes stands a chance. The man doesn't hold back, calling Jiang Yan dual F-rank trash and accusing him of looking for a death wish. Jiang Yan just gives a polite smile and thanks the senior for his concern. His mind was made up the second he stepped off the bus. The staff member scoffs and steps aside, telling Jiang Yan that if he's so hell-bent on dying, he won't stand in his way. The massive portal hums as the path ahead opens. Jiang Yan walks into the dark corridor, completely unfazed by the insults. He's not going to let a little barking stop his stride toward the top. Deep inside the base, the wolves sense an intruder and start howling. They're hungry, and a lone human looks like an easy meal. Jiang Yan breaks into a run, heading straight for the heart of the training zone. It's time to see if his preparations were enough. He draws his sword, the blade shimmering with a sharp, colorful glow. He hasn't fought like this in years, and he's eager to test his current limits. From a safe observation deck, the staff member watches the monitor with a smug look. He's still convinced he's about to watch a piece of trash get torn apart. He thinks Jiang Yan is just another arrogant fool who confused bravery with suicide. Rushing in alone like that usually ends in a bloodbath. But the blood isn't coming from Jiang Yan. He carves through the pack with surgical precision, racking up experience points with every swing. The staff member's smugness vanishes instantly as he sees how at ease the boy is. He realizes Jiang Yan hasn't even used a single innate skill yet. He starts to sweat, gripping the railing as he watches the trash he mocked dominate the battlefield. He begins to wonder if he just witnessed a hidden genius in action. A short while later, the dust starts to settle, leaving only a literal pool of blood on the floor. Jiang Yan stands triumphantly atop a mountain of wolf carcasses. He's cleared out the entire pack, turning the slaughterhouse into his own personal grinding spot. Back in the control room, the staff member is frozen in shock. His eyes are wide as he realizes just how wrong his initial assessment was. He quickly starts heading for the exit, terrified of what happens next. He knows he humiliated the kid earlier and doesn't want to be around for the payback. Jiang Yan drops to one knee, glowing with green energy as his wounds begin to knit back together. He's almost level 10, but the intensity of the fight nearly pushed him to the brink. He activates regeneration, his first innate skill, which consumes mana to heal his physical body. It's the only reason he's still standing after taking those hits. He stands back up on his mountain of trophies, looking down at the fallen beasts. They were much tougher than the rabbits he fought earlier, but their speed still couldn't match his. He clenches his fist, ignoring the lingering stings across his arms. The pain is a small price to pay for the progress he's making. His sword is caked in blood, a testament to the sheer volume of wolves he's cut down to get this far. His eyes narrow as he looks toward the shadows. The main event is finally arriving. A massive silhouette emerges from the dust, its eyes glowing with a predatory green light. Jiang Yan knows it's time for the true battle between kings. The Cyclone Wolf King lets out a bone-chilling roar, baring teeth that are designed to crush steel. This level 10 beast is the peak of its kind, infused with wind elements that allow it to move faster than the eye can follow. Jiang Yan calmly analyzes the threat, noting the king's specific skills. It relies on extreme speed and razor-sharp wind blades to finish off prey. The king lunges, its body trailing green energy as it activates its speed boost. It's a devastating combo that would shred any normal freshman in seconds. Jiang Yan keeps his cool, looking for a way to use his modification talent. He quickly realizes there's no simple way to rewrite the wolf's own skills on the fly. As the monster pounces, he decides against forcing a modification that might glitch out and fail. Instead, he reaches for his collar, deciding to change his approach entirely for this final encounter. He sheds his bloodied shirt and stands ready, sword in hand among the ruins of the pack. He's going to end this fight on his own terms, the old-fashioned way. A massive shockwave ripples out as he meets the Wolf King's charge head-on. He's not just relying on skills anymore. He's bringing a lifetime of combat experience to the table. Jiang Yan closes the gap with a single jump, putting every ounce of his new strength into this finishing blow. He was always a genius on paper, but now he's proving he can handle himself on the front lines, too. Meanwhile, things aren't looking nearly as cool back at the Charging Rabbit novice base. A group of freshmen are sprawled on the ground, gasping for air after barely surviving an encounter. They're just glad to be alive after having to call for a rescue. The base staff aren't exactly giving out participation trophies, chewing them out for wandering into the advanced zone like idiots. Among the bruised students is Yang Hongwei, absolutely fuming as he wonders how a bastard like Jiang Yan cleared a zone his party couldn't even enter. He ends up taking his frustration out on a teammate, punching him in the gut while screaming that there's no way Jiang Yan didn't cheat. But the scoreboard is out here ending careers. Jiang Yan didn't just clear it, he absolutely shattered the record with a time of 29 minutes. The other students are losing their minds, realizing that the previous record of an hour and a half has been cut down by 30 entire minutes. They can only stare at the board in shock as Jiang Yan's rank jumps up by over 300,000 places in a single go. Yang Hongwei's face twists into a nasty grin as he decides that if Jiang Yan wants to play dirty, He'll show him what a real disgrace feels like. He tells his buddies they're heading over to the Cyclone Wolf base, acting like he's there to cheer, while secretly hopping to see a disaster. He's determined to expose his rival as a fraud and humiliate him in front of everyone. Back in the dungeon, the carnage is total, with nothing but a blood-stained blade and dead wolves left in Jiang Yan's wake. He takes a breather in the sunlight, finally hitting level 10 and unlocking the chance to awaken his second set of skills. The system pings with the good news, granting him durability for his artisan class and plant grafting for his farmer class. His status window shows he's officially hit the big double digits, adding 2 more tools to his growing arsenal. He's a bloody mess, but his eyes are locked on the screen as he prepares to use Modify to break the rules once again. With a flicker of energy, he targets the mundane plant grafting and gets to work. The modification hits, turning a simple farming ability into the god-tier all things grafting. Jiang Yan knows he's just hit the jackpot. This is the power to create the ultimate demonic beasts. Even at level 1, he can start grafting the genes of different species together to create entirely new, superior creatures. He realizes that once he levels this skill up to 10, his success rate for creating top-tier monsters will hit a perfect 100%. This means he can take powerful beasts and fuse them into nightmares with even more insane racial abilities. The potential is crazy. He could potentially birth an S-rank beast by merging 2 A-rank ones. Once he gets a beast tamer, Scroll, he'll be able to bring these fused monsters under his absolute control. He can already see himself leading a loyal battle pet that towers over anything else on the battlefield. He hasn't forgotten the past life, where he was treated like a puppet by the elites. He remembers being forced to kneel, while others took all the glory he helped them build. That's not happening this time. In this life, every ounce of power he gathers belongs to him alone. He sheathes his sword and looks over the field of dead wolves, satisfied with the haul. Luck is on his side when a rare magic crystal drops, a high-value item that can be used to buff his gear. The crystals inside the base technically belong to the school, but now that he's level 10, he can finally venture into the real wilderness. Once he's outside the Demon Rift, every bit of loot he finds is his to keep, which should solve his money problems for good. He lets out a pained hiss as the adrenaline starts to fade, and the injuries start talking back. He's covered in wounds that his revive skill won't touch since they aren't fatal, and he doesn't want to blow his cash on a hospital bill. A wild idea crosses his mind. Since revive triggers on death, maybe he should just reset his health by killing himself. But with working knights patrolling the area, a public suicide would definitely attract the wrong kind of attention. He decides to find a quiet, secluded spot to handle the reset away from prying eyes. Jiang Yan quietly slips out of the training base and heads back toward the city. As he reaches the Academy Plaza, he's greeted by a massive crowd gathered under the sun. He stops in his tracks, wondering why there are so many people waiting around. "Look, that's Jiang Yan, the freshman who set the new record," a student shouts, pointing toward the approaching figure. Jiang Yan scans the crowd, realizing the news of his achievement has spread much faster than he anticipated. He picks up his pace, knowing that the massive crowd makes it impossible for him to use his revive skill without being noticed. Beads of sweat roll down his face as his injuries grow more painful, the stain of blood on his shirt a clear sign of his current state. Surrounded by curious onlookers and whispering students, he realizes he needs to find a way to shake them off before his condition worsens. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light descends from the sky, bathing the plaza in a warm, ethereal glow. A figure with massive glowing wings floats down, casting a powerful healing spell that begins to mend Jiang Yan's wounds instantly. The crowd erupts in whispers as they recognize the rare and powerful S-rank support class, the Holy Angel. The girl is Yao Kexin, a member of the prestigious Yao family whose presence alone is enough to silence the plaza. "I can't believe she came too," one student exclaims as everyone watches the elite student ascend. Jiang Yan feels the surge of energy as the healing magic takes effect, his pain vanishing along with the light. Yao Kexin lands gracefully, her expression calm and composed as she looks at the boy she just helped. My injuries are almost completely healed now. Thank you, Jiang Yan says, acknowledging her timely intervention. He offers her a deal in return for the heal, promising to repair her equipment whenever she needs it in the future. He notes to himself that a support-type ally is exactly what he lacks, seeing the potential in a future partnership. Yao Kexin smiles warmly, clasping her hands together as she accepts his offer of future maintenance. The peaceful moment is shattered as Yang Hongwei shoves his way through the crowd, his face twisted into a familiar sneer. "Everyone, don't let this guy fool you," he bellows, waving his arms to draw the crowd's attention. He points an accusing finger at Jiang Yan, labeling him a cheating mutt and claiming his record was a complete fraud. The crowd begins to murmur as Yang Hongwei reveals Jiang Yan's F-rank status, a class with 0 combat potential. He grandstands for the onlookers, arguing that it's impossible for a double F-rank to clear a dungeon solo without cheating. Grinning maliciously, he mocks Jiang Yan for allegedly using pathetic tricks to try and finally surpass him. He turns the crowd's suspicion toward Jiang Yan's background, pointing out that he's known to be a poor student. "He's been scamming the school's financial aid," Yang Hongwei screams, making a baseless accusation to ruin Jiang Yan's reputation. The crowd's mood turns sour as students begin to whisper about the truth behind Jiang Yan's sudden success. Jiang Yan remains unfazed by the slander, simply asking if his rival wants him to prove he didn't cheat. Yang Hongwei jumps at the chance, challenging Jiang Yan to a fight without his supposedly overpowered equipment. Yao Kexin steps forward, her face full of concern as she warns Jiang Yan not to fall for such a blatant provocation. Jiang Yan thanks her for the concern, but his mind is already made up as he reaches for the hilt of his massive blade. With a single, fluid motion, he draws his sword and slams the tip into the ground, accepting the challenge in front of everyone. He decides he needs to put an end to Yang Hongwei's interference now, before it gets in the way of his real goals. Yang Hongwei erupts in a violent red aura, his eyes glowing with malice as he prepares his A-rank berserker powers. He vows to beat Jiang Yan so badly that his fake mask will be shattered right along with his teeth. A system window reveals his berserk talent, which boosts his physical stats significantly at the cost of his own life force. The bully charges forward with inhuman speed, his body trailing red energy as he closes the distance. Jiang Yan watches the reckless charge with a cold, detached gaze, unimpressed by the display of raw power. He sees right through the attempt to use class superiority, knowing that ranks alone don't determine the outcome of a fight. He clenches his fist, considering his rival's class-based confidence to be nothing more than a superficial advantage. Stepping into a refined combat stance, Jiang Yan prepares to show the crowd that true strength comes from within. Yang Hongwei throws a heavy punch, his face contorted with rage as he tries to end the fight in a single blow. Yao Kexin watches with growing dread, believing that an F-rank crafter has no chance against an A-rank combatant in a fair fight. But Jiang Yan remains perfectly calm, his eyes tracking every move as he gets ready to deliver his counterattack. Jiang Yan shifts into a low, focused combat stance, his hands empty but his gaze unwavering. He remembers that he had already meticulously restored all of his modified equipment before leaving the novice base. He glances down at his open palm, knowing that his current physical power is enough to handle a common bully without relying on hidden items. By fighting barehanded, he ensures that no one will notice anything unusual about his upgraded gear. Standing firmly on the stone tiles, he makes a point of showing he carries no weapons or armor. He confirms to himself that he doesn't have a single piece of equipment on him, forcing the fight to be one of pure raw ability. Yang Hongwei roars as he lunges forward, his body wreathed in a turbulent red aura of berserk energy. He clenches his teeth in a savage grin, certain that this is the moment he will finally end Jiang Yan's streak of luck. Yang Hongwei throws a massive, glowing punch, but Jiang Yan pivots on his heel with surgical precision. The blow whistles through empty air, leaving the A-rank berserker wide-eyed and stumbling as his momentum carries him past his target. Veins bulge on Yang Hongwei's forehead as he forced himself to stop, the red energy around him flaring into an intense flame. He refuses to believe his enhanced speed and strength could be evaded so casually by an F-rank student. He unleashes a frantic barrage of strikes, his fists becoming a blur of red streaks as he tries to overwhelm his opponent. "I refuse to believe you can dodge every single punch," he screams, pouring every ounce of his mana into the assault. Jiang Yan moves like water, his body blurring as he weaves through the gaps in the berserker's sloppy technique. Each punch misses by a mere fraction of an inch, leaving afterimages of the protagonist as he effortlessly maintains his distance. Jiang Yan watches a glowing fist sail past his face, his expression remaining cold and analytical. He acknowledges that an A-rank berserker is indeed a powerful combat class, possessing overwhelming physical potential. Another heavy strike is deflected away as Jiang Yan continues to toy with his rival's aggression. He knows that no matter how much power an attack holds, it means absolutely nothing if it never makes contact with the target. Jiang Yan slips inside Yang Hongwei's guard, his hand pulled back in a tight, controlled fist. He remarks that throwing punches blindly is a waste of stamina, having memorized every flaw in his rival's fighting style over the last 3 years. He drives a sharp, decisive punch into Yang Hongwei's midsection, the impact creating a shockwave that shatters the other's red aura. A sickening crack echoes through the plaza as the force of the blow sends the bully reeling. Jiang Yan stands over his doubled-over opponent, his eyes reflecting a level of experience that far surpasses his student status. He points out that while Yang Hongwei spent years trying to dominate him, he never once managed to see through Jiang Yan's true capabilities. Yang Hongwei collapses to his knees, saliva and blood spraying from his mouth as the air is forced from his lungs. He gasps in disbelief, his eyes wide with shock as he struggles to understand how he was defeated so thoroughly. The arrogant student hits the ground with a heavy thud, sliding several feet across the pavement. His group of followers breaks from the crowd, running toward him with panicked shouts for their fallen leader. Jiang Yan stands tall against the backdrop of the clear blue sky, his breathing steady as if he had barely exerted himself. He looks down at the defeated berserker and simply notes that he was the one who came out on top. Stunned silence grips the plaza before the onlookers erupt into frantic whispers and expressions of pure disbelief. They can't wrap their heads around the fact that a student with an F-rank crafting class just crushed an A-rank combatant. Jiang Yan turns his back on the chaos, casually dusting off his hands as he prepares to depart. He decides that the matter is settled, and there is no point in wasting any more of his time on someone so far beneath him. He walks away from the academy grounds, his hands in his pockets as he plans his next move toward the dangerous wilderness. He knows that before he can truly begin his journey, he needs to secure a proper set of equipment. An image of a legendary, glowing blade flashes in his mind, surrounded by the intricate runic circles of his unique ability. He remains confident that with his modify skill, obtaining top-tier gear is only a matter of finding a basic starting point. He stops outside the massive training base, scratching his head as he realizes he already returned all the school-issued equipment. He decides his first stop must be the street stalls to find some cheap items to use as a base for his modifications. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a few meager coins, his face falling into a dejected, comical expression. He sighs deeply, realizing that even the most basic equipment might be out of reach with the tiny amount of money he has left. Someone throws a massive punch right at Jiang Yan's back while he's walking away. He doesn't even flinch, sensing the attack coming before it even gets close. A quick palm block stops the strike dead in its tracks. Jiang Yan glanced back, thinking it was Yang Hongwei again. He was sick and tired of this guy's nonsense. However, contrary to his expectations, Wang Qingfeng stepped forward to pay his respects. He had been keeping an eye on Jiang Yan, knowing that he had topped both the academic and combat rankings for 3 years straight. He tosses a cold can of soda over to his old rival. The two start walking through the school plaza, popping their drinks. Wang Qingfeng admits he was watching the fight earlier and would have stepped in if things got messy. He's selective about who he respects, and right now, he only acknowledges Jiang Yan. In his eyes, guys like Yang Hongwei are just trash not worth mentioning. Jiang Yan keeps it humble, mentioning he wasn't even going all out back there. It takes them both back to a match during their freshman year, The arena was packed and the stakes were high. Back then, a younger Wang Qingfeng actually surrendered after taking a beating. Since that day, Jiang Yan has forfeited every single year they were supposed to face off. They both take a long drink, the history between them hanging in the air. Jiang Yan wonders if his rival was just trying to hand him the top scholarship. After all, a rich kid like Wang isn't exactly hurting for cash. But his friend shoots that down immediately. He forfeited because Jiang Yan's eyes were just way too ruthless back then. Looking ahead to the national freshman tournament, Jiang Yan asks if he's planning to give up again. That's definitely not happening this time. Wang Qingfeng has a sharp look in his eyes, promising to fight until someone's teeth are on the floor. They lock eyes, both ready to finally go all out against each other. A final toast of theirs seals the promise in front of the city skyline. Wang Qingfeng pulls out a payment card and hands over 2,000 credits. He's officially buying the Speed Clear strategy for the Whirlwind Wolf dungeon. He waves goodbye, telling Jiang Yan not to keep him waiting on that info. Jiang Yan watches him walk off into the crowd. He appreciates the support and vows to repay the favor tenfold when the time comes. With some fresh credits in his pocket, Jiang Yan decides it's time to go shopping. He heads toward the street stalls to see what's for sale. He weaves through the crosswalk, eyes peeled for any hidden gems waiting in the piles of junk. He heads down into the narrow, grimy alleys of the black market. This place is legendary for being cheap, but it's mostly filled with absolute garbage. Finding a real treasure here is like finding a needle in a haystack. But for Jiang Yan, nothing is completely impossible. He stops at a stall where the stall owner is lounging back in sunglasses. His eyes land on a Demonfall blade that's been embedded with a Whirlwind Wolf magic crystal. The blade is jagged and glows with a faint green light at the hilt. A system window pops up, showing it's an E-rank weapon at level 10. It's got decent attack power and applies a freezing effect to anyone it hits. The stall owner doesn't hesitate to name his price, 18,000 credits. He claims it'd be worth way more if the durability wasn't taking a hit. Jiang Yan isn't falling for it. Even for a decent blade, that price is a total ripoff. He shifts his gaze to a plain, rusty sword leaning against the wall. He asks what the price is for that one. The system shows it just a basic bronze sword with mediocre stats, forged from ordinary metal. Jiang Yan makes his move. He offers to repair the expensive Demonfall blade for the guy if he throws in the useless bronze sword for free. The owner pulls his shades down in disbelief, shocked that a kid thinks he can actually do high-level repairs. A system notification confirms he's activating his durability repair skill. A blue glow forms around his hand as he gets to work. The owner has no idea that the broken blade was just a distraction. Jiang Yan's real prize was that bronze sword all along. He keeps his focus tight as the repair finishes. Behind that rusty bronze exterior is the legendary Azure Steel sword. Once Jiang Yan uses his Modify skill on it, this junk will transform into a weapon that can rewrite his entire future. The stall owner leans back, eyes narrowed with skepticism as he questions the kid's actual rank and durability skill. He's clearly not buying that some random student can handle professional-grade weapon maintenance. Jiang Yan keeps his cool, identifying as a lowly F-rank repairman while a sphere of glowing blue digital energy gathers in his palm. He doesn't need a high rank to know exactly what he's doing. They're in a narrow market alley, surrounded by display swords of various ranks thrust into heavy stone bases all around the stall. The atmosphere is thick with the smell of old iron and magic. The vendor pulls out a massive blue blade, acting like a veteran giving a rookie student some much-needed life advice. He thinks he's teaching a lesson to a kid who's in over his head. He warns that once a weapon's durability hits rock bottom, it's nothing more than a heap of broken scrap metal that can't be salvaged. A single mistake could turn a treasure into trash. Real repair work means sensing the internal structure and the magic flow running through the weapon from the inside out. It's a delicate process that requires more than just raw power. The guy decides to set a high-stakes wager. If Jiang Yan fails and the durability drops further, he'll owe the vendor 18,000 credits. It's a trap designed to scare off the amateur. Yao Kexin watches from the crowd, her expression tense as she realizes even the B-rank professionals in her family's guild find this kind of work grueling. She's genuinely worried for him. Jiang Yan isn't intimidated, telling the man to just watch closely as he takes hold of the heavy blue sword. He's already seen everything he needs to know about the blade's condition. He taps into his past life's experience, remembering the long days he spent maintaining legendary A-rank and S-rank treasures for high-ranking figures. To him, this is standard procedure. Back then, he pushed himself to the absolute limit, grinding his teeth and hunting his useless repair skill until it became his greatest advantage. He never let his low rank define his ceiling. That relentless habit of excellence followed him back in time, giving him a massive edge over everyone else in this new life. His confidence is backed by decades of struggle. A massive holographic circuitry pattern erupts around the blade as the repair skill begins to analyze and restore the metal. The digital glow illuminates the dark alley. To a master with his memories, fixing a low-level piece of gear like this is child's play. He effortlessly guides the mana to patch up the internal fractures. The bystanders are floored, wondering how an F-rank kid could possibly possess this kind of world-class craftsmanship. The murmurs of the crowd turn from mockery to shock. Even Yao Kexin is stunned. She thought he was just being polite earlier, but the guy actually has the skills to back up his claims. She stares at the glowing blade in disbelief. He hands the blade back with a calm smile, the system window confirming it's now back to a perfect 100% durability. Not a single scratch remains on the surface. The stall owner's jaw hits the floor as he checks the work, realization dawning that he completely misjudged the kid's talent. He's looking at the blade like he's seeing a miracle. He happily takes the restored blade back, sounding like he's just witnessed a masterpiece being born right in front of him. His attitude toward Jiang Yan has done a complete 180. With the job finished, the stall owner willingly handed over the chipped sword as payment for Jiang Yan's services. He knows that with his unique power, he can turn this cheap hunk of metal into a pseudo-divine weapon with just one word. It's an exploit the world isn't ready for. The system window pops up for the Azure Steel sword, and he gets ready to modify its name and properties. A simple text change is all it takes to rewrite history. In a flash of blinding golden light, the basic blade is rewritten into the legendary Azure Jar sword. The transformation is absolute, changing the very essence of the steel. It's the same weapon that once belonged to an ancient divine general who single-handedly carved through entire enemy ranks. The blade hums with a power it hasn't felt in ages. With his weapon sorted, his thoughts turn to the 2,000 credits in his pocket, money he desperately needs to save for his future. Every penny counts when you're starting from zero. He remembers his younger sister, Jiang Yao, sobbing after their parents passed away. It's a loss she still hasn't moved on from even after all this time. She's grown withdrawn ever since, struggling to find any light in a world that's been nothing but hard on them. He can see her silhouette sitting alone at her desk. Jiang Yan lets out a heavy sigh, knowing he has to secure a future for her before he heads off to university. He needs to prepare living expenses that will last. He snapped out of his thoughts when Yao Kexin calls out to him, her presence in the street feeling strangely familiar. She's been following his performance closely. She cuts straight to the point, offering him 50,000 credits if he can help her power level her way to level 10. It's a staggering amount of money for a simple escort job. A quick look at her status reveals she's an S-rank holy angel, though her true potential is still under lock and key at level 0. She's a sleeping giant waiting to be awakened. He agrees to the deal without hesitation, and she beams with relief that he's willing to take the job. It's the first step toward a very lucrative partnership. He can't help but smirk to himself. The exact amount of money he needed practically walked right up and introduced itself to him. Luck is finally on his side. Yao Kexin then turns back to the vendor, asking to buy the Demonfall blade he's still holding. She's not wasting any time arming herself for their training session. The guy is skeptical, warning her that the price is 25,000 credits now that it's been restored to full durability. He's testing her to see if she actually has the funds. She hands over a fancy box containing a rare storage ring, and the vendor's eyes nearly pop out of his head at the display of wealth. It's proof that she's a high-class lady. The vendor immediately drops into a deep bow, offering the sword with both hands like he's serving royalty. He's practically groveling at her feet now. Jiang Yan watches from the side, noting that everything about her screams high class and incredibly expensive. She's clearly never wanted for anything in her life. He knew she was loaded, which is exactly why he didn't doubt her ability to casually hand him 50,000 credits. He's just glad she's the one paying. Yao Kexin tries to sheath the massive blade, but she can barely manage the weight of her new purchase. She stumbles back as the heavy steel nearly drags her down. Jiang Yan watches her struggle, already calculating how her support skills can help him challenge a boss he never met in his first life. He's thinking several steps ahead. She manages to steady herself and offers the sword toward him as a gift, hoping it'll be a good first step in their new partnership. She's looking for a way to show her gratitude. Jiang Yan notes her politeness, surprised that a girl from such a wealthy background isn't stuck up or arrogant. He takes the gift from her, offering a quick word of thanks while she stands there with a shy expression. Yao Kexin smiles, clearly relieved that he actually likes the weapon she picked out for him. She watches him closely, thinking that his potential seems limitless despite his low rank, and decides that building goodwill now is a smart long-term move. There's no more time to waste, so Jiang Yan leads the way as they head straight for the rookie training base. They arrive at a massive, modern facility designed for the new generation of hunters to test their skills and level up. Inside, the grind begins immediately. Jiang Yan tears through mobs so fast that Yao Kexin hits level 5 in no time. Announcements light up the server as they shatter the Charging Rabbit clear time record, moving straight into the Cyclone Wolf zone. It doesn't take long before another notification pings. They've officially crushed the Cyclone Wolf record as well. In the city center, the public leaderboards update in real time, flashing their names for everyone in the academy to see. Other students gather around the screens in a daze, wondering who this Jiang Yan is and if his partner is truly a member of the elite Yao family. The name carries immense weight, sparking frantic whispers among the crowd about which powerful lineage she belongs to. In the business world, the Yao family is synonymous with the Dali Chamber of Commerce, one of the nation's absolute top merchant associations. Back in the training zone, Yao Kexin is nearly at level 10, leaning on her staff as she catches her breath from the blistering pace. Jiang Yan has already reached level 13 and tells her they can rest while they walk toward their next challenge. He's eyeing the C-class zone, confident that her S-rank support skills will let them punch way above their weight class against stronger monsters. He sets his sights on the most dangerous rookie base available, the Netherflame Boar base. The entrance looms in the distance, a high-tech hangar shrouded in a thick, eerie mist that warns of the power within. A senior staff member stops them, warning that the Boar King is a complete monster compared to the wolves they just cleared. Jiang Yan just gives a calm half-smile, stating that bigger risks only lead to bigger opportunities for growth. He reminds Yao Kexin that with her S-rank buffs, this is a rare chance they can't afford to pass up. The guard steps aside and wishes them luck, watching as the duo vanishes into the bright white light of the portal. Jiang Yan tosses a wave over his shoulder, accepting the blessing as they step into the unknown together. They find themselves in a dense, glowing forest, but Yao Kexin immediately notices a total lack of any minor monsters. Jiang Yan explains that this isn't a normal dungeon. There are no regular mobs here, only the big boss. The realization hits her like a ton of bricks. They're walking straight into a solo boss fight without any warm-up. A heavy thud suddenly shakes the ground, sending tremors through the gnarled roots and rock beneath their feet. Jiang Yan grips his sword as the mist begins to swirl, sensing the massive presence closing in on their position. Out of the fog emerges a literal mountain of muscle and blue flames, its glowing eyes fixed right on the intruders. Yao Kexin is frozen by the sheer scale of the beast, while Jiang Yan just smiles, finally seeing an opponent worth his time. The Netherflame Boar King snorts, its massive tusks shimmering with a deadly blue aura as it prepares to strike. It lets out a deafening roar that echoes through the forest before launching into a high-speed charge. A status window reveals its terrifying stats, a level 15 beast that burns at 200 degrees Celsius and specializes in a lethal demonic charge. Jiang Yan barks out an order for her to prepare her healing light, and Yao Kexin's angelic wings flare out as she prepares to support him. He doesn't wait to be hit, lunging forward with his blades drawn to seize the initiative before the boar can pick up speed. He kicks off the ground with explosive force, launching himself high into the air as the massive beast thunders past below. Using the momentum of his fall and a rapid mid-air spin, he aims a lethal strike directly at the monster's neck. The Boar King roars in defiance, its glowing eyes tracking the tiny human falling from the sky. His blades connect with a heavy metallic clang, sparks flying as the beast's thick, enchanted hide resists the cut. The boar managed to jump at the last second, avoiding a fatal wound and catching Jiang Yan by surprise with its agility. He lands gracefully, realizing he needs a bigger boost, and he plans to modify his sword while Yao Kexin is distracted by the chaos. His eyes flare with a sharp purple light as he prepares to rewrite the rules of his equipment mid-combat. A digital interface flickers to life, confirming the activation of his divine-tier skill. He targets his weapon, beginning the process of rewriting its fundamental properties. Purple and yellow data fragments swirl around the blade as the modification takes hold. Jiang Yan grips the hilt tightly, feeling the surge of power as the steel begins to glow with an intense light. The sword is completely enveloped in a vibrant, crackling aura. It no longer looks like a simple E-rank blade, but a weapon of legend, vibrating with untapped potential. A status window appears, displaying the results of his work. The cyan steel sword has become an A+ rank imitation of a divine weapon with massive bonuses to attack and agility. Jiang Yan looks at the finished product with a calculating gaze, nodding that even with his god-tier skill, he still can't ignore the basic laws of physics to create something truly divine from nothing. He figures that for their current situation, this upgraded imitation will be more than enough to handle the beast in front of them. With the modified blade in hand, he launches himself forward with newfound speed. His attack power is now 5 times greater than before, and his agility has been pushed to its limit. He strikes with surgical precision, the glowing blade cutting through the air and the monster's neck in a single, fluid motion. He knows the upper hand is now firmly in his grasp. The force of the blow is so immense that one of the Boar King's massive tusks is sheared off, sending shards of bone and blue sparks flying into the misty air. The beast bellows in agony as the mist around it churns violently. From the sidelines, Yao Kexin watches the exchange with wide eyes, struggling to comprehend the display of raw power. Jiang Yan realizes the modification is causing the sword to glitch, as its structural integrity is pushed too far. He quickly prepares to revert the change before his partner notices anything out of the ordinary. Yao Kexin is frozen in shock, her mind racing as she stares at the severed tusk. She can't wrap her head around how an E-rank weapon could possibly cause that much damage to a C-class boss. She looks at Jiang Yan, her expression a mix of awe and confusion. She begins to convince herself that the sword isn't special at all. The incredible feat was purely a result of Jiang Yan's own hidden strength. To her, he looks like a master of combat standing amidst the swirling fog. She thinks that for a dual F-rank student, his techniques must be far superior to those of any top-tier primary combat profession. Jiang Yan can practically see the wheels turning in her head and guesses she's going through some intense mental gymnastics to explain what she just saw. He snaps her back to reality by shouting an order to cast her support skill. He doesn't want her to miss out on the experience points if he finishes the boss with his next strike. Yao Kexin shakes off her daze and raises her staff, her golden wings flaring out behind her. She channels her mana, bathing the battlefield in the brilliant glow of her holy light. The divine radiance cuts through the dark forest as the Boar King, still wreathed in blue flames, prepares for another desperate assault. Jiang Yan watches the beast carefully, a new idea forming in his mind. He realizes that using his modification skill instantly during combat could serve as an effective new attack method. He shifts his grip on the blue-tinted saber in his other hand, wondering if he should try modifying its name next to see what kind of power it can unleash. He considers several legendary-sounding names, like Demon God or Godfall Saber, testing how they feel in his mind. Ultimately, he decides to play it safe for now, fearing that a name too grand might cause the modification to fail or result in a dangerous magical backlash. The Netherflame Boar King lets out an earth-shaking roar as it activates its innate skill. A massive aura of blue fire erupts from its body as it prepares its Netherfire Wild charge. Jiang Yan just gives a confident smirk, seeing this as the perfect opportunity to end the battle once and for all. The ground explodes as the monster lunges, becoming a blurring streak of blue fire that tears through the forest floor toward him. He calmly watches the incoming attack, his mind already selecting the perfect word to dismantle the beast's ultimate move. He glances back at his partner with a grin, telling Yao Kexin to close her eyes for just a moment. Yao Kexin is startled by the sudden request, her eyes wide with concern as she wonders what he's planning to do. He tells her to trust him, claiming that the next part of the fight is going to get far too bloody for her to watch. Choosing to trust his judgment, she squeezes her eyes shut and waits, her heart racing as the sound of the charging monster grows louder. With her vision gone, Jiang Yan raises his hand, his fingers poised to execute the next modification. He activates his skill on the monster's own attack, replacing the word wild in its charge with something far less threatening. A blue notification box appears in the air, confirming that the modification of the boss's skill has been successfully processed. The Boar King's ferocious charge instantly loses all its momentum, its flames flickering out as it slows down to a comical crawl. Jiang Yan mocks the beast, nodding that a slow-moving target is no threat at all. He lunges forward for the killing blow, his blade glowing as he quickly resets its name to hide the evidence of his modification before she opens her eyes. A brilliant white flash cuts across the darkness as he delivers the final, decisive strike. The massive beast collapses into the dirt, the blue flames finally dying out for good. A notification appears, officially declaring the Netherflame Boar King slain. Golden light bathes Jiang Yan as the massive experience reward floods in, pushing his level up to 14. He stands over the fallen boss, his level climbing once more to hit 15. He reflects on the gain, nodding that such a jump is expected when taking down the strongest boss in the rookie base. Beside him, Yao Kexin is nearly overwhelmed by the sudden influx of power, her level jumping 3 times in a row to reach 12. She tentatively asks if it's finally over, still processing the sheer amount of experience she just gained while her eyes were closed. Jiang Yan casually sheathes his swords and starts walking back. He thinks to himself that the bloody scene excuse was the perfect way to keep her from seeing how he actually won. Jiang Yan smiles to himself, satisfied with his choice of companion. He notes that Yao Kexin is obedient, wealthy, and possesses valuable healing skills, truly a rare, high-quality teammate to have in his corner. He glances back at her and tells her she can finally open her eyes. He informs her that the leveling commission she hired him for is now officially complete. Yao Kexin tentatively opens her eyes, the bright light of the forest clearing greeting her as she looks around for the monster. She stares in disbelief at the massive corpse of the Netherflame Boar King lying motionless in the mist. Her mind reels as she realizes he actually managed to defeat the terrifying boss on his own. She stands there, staff in hand and mouth agape, completely awestruck by his performance. She can't wrap her head around how he could slay such a powerful creature completely solo. Jiang Yan begins to walk away, his expression as calm as if he'd just finished a light stroll. He tells her the job is done and suggests they get out of the dungeon before any other monsters arrive. Yao Kexin follows behind him, her gaze fixed on his back. She thinks to herself that he is an exceptionally rare talent, not just for his combat skill, but because he's kind, gentle, and strictly adheres to his contracts. Sensing her intense gaze, Jiang Yan stops and looks over his shoulder with a questioning look. Is something the matter? Yao Kexin steps forward and extends her hands toward him, holding a small item. She tells him that she's providing the promised payment, along with a small extra token of her appreciation for his help. Jiang Yan looks down at the gift and is immediately struck by its appearance. He recognizes the small, glowing band as a spatial ring, an item far more valuable than any simple credit payment. A mental image of a towering, magical crystal appears as he recalls his knowledge of such artifacts. These rings can only be forged using extremely rare crystals infused with continuous space attribute magic. Another vision of floating rings and piles of gold coins flashes through his mind. These items defy the laws of physics, allowing the user to store a vast amount of gear and loot inside a tiny, weightless space. Jiang Yan immediately raises a hand in refusal, shaking his head. He tells her the gift is far too valuable and that he simply cannot accept something of such high worth for a single job. Despite his protest, Yao Kexin keeps her hands extended, her expression determined. Jiang Yan knows that even a basic spatial ring with only 1 cubic meter of storage sells for hundreds of thousands of dollars. She insists that he needs the ring more than she does, pointing out that his help allowed her to gain 2 extra levels beyond what she expected. She considers the ring a well-deserved reward for his service. Jiang Yan looks at the ring again, realizing that having a spatial storage device would be incredibly convenient for the long-term leveling he plans to do in the wilds. Seeing her sincerity, he finally reaches out and accepts the small ring from her hands, his fingers brushing against hers as he takes the payment. He holds the ring up, looking at it with a serious expression. He tells her that to balance the scales for such a generous gift, he will grant her one unconditional favor in the future. The two of them begin the walk back to the city, the forest glowing with faint magical embers around them. Jiang Yan tells her they're done for today and should head back to rest. The city's freshman rankings show Jiang Yu, Jiang Yan's alias, at the top with level 15. The crowd is abuzz, noting the unusually high number of elite combat classes awakened this year. A grand monument in the city center displays the leaderboard for everyone to see. Rumors swirl about Nanrong No 7 High School, which reportedly awakened 3 S-rank combat classes in a single batch. Standing before the monument, Jiang Yan remains grounded despite his current ranking. He knows that his lead is temporary, as those with top-tier classes will soon surpass his level with their superior growth rates. Meet the elite of the new generation, starting with Li Yufeng. He's the top student at Nanrong No. 3 High School who awakened the legendary S-rank sword Saint class and is considered unbeatable in close combat. Then you've got Zhang Hong with his A-rank Blazing Fist and Lu Yuan, an S-rank Gale assassin specializing in high-speed surprise attacks. These are the heavy hitters currently dominating the student rankings. Jiang Yan remembers them all as dazzling figures from his previous life. If he wants to reach the top of the city's rankings again, every one of them is an opponent he'll eventually have to face. He actually looks forward to the challenge this time around. A small smirk plays on his lips as he imagines the day he gets to test his modified skills against them. But fame isn't his immediate priority right now. A glitchy, faded image of his sister flashes through his mind, grounding him in the present. He needs to get home as soon as possible. There's a serious look in his eyes as he thinks about the family he failed to protect during his first life. Back then, he was taken away and exploited by powerful figures, leaving his little sister to grow up entirely on her own. He's determined to make up for that regret now that he's been reborn. Yao Kexin waves a friendly goodbye, already suggesting they run another dungeon together in the future. Jiang Yan gives a simple wave back before turning to head toward the slums. The sun sets over the city, casting a warm glow over the rooftops as birds scatter across the sky. In his previous life, once he left this home, he never found his way back. He walks through the familiar, crowded streets of his old neighborhood. Back then, any news about his sister only reached him through the whispers of strangers and third parties. He knows that in the future, she'll awaken a powerful A-rank combat class of her own. But right now, Jiang Yao is just a young girl struggling to survive in a harsh world. He pushes the door open and steps into their small, quiet apartment. Jiang Yao is right there to greet him, holding his coat and letting him know that dinner is already on the table. A simple meal is set out for them, but the atmosphere remains heavy. She's been withdrawn and quiet like this ever since their parents were lost in the Demon Rift. The two of them sit down for a quiet dinner in their cramped kitchen, the silence between them speaking volumes. The modest setting is a far cry from 3 years ago when their parents were still alive. They were a happy family then, enjoying walks together under a bright, clear sky. But those memories were scorched when tragedy struck. Their parents' deaths hit his sister harder than anyone, leaving a scar that has yet to heal. Jiang Yao takes a small bite of her food before suddenly dropping a bombshell. She tells him she's decided to quit school entirely. Jiang Yan freezes in place, his chopsticks suspended in midair. He looks at her in total disbelief, managing only to ask the single question, why? He reminds her that she's a straight-A student in both her studies and combat training. It makes no sense to quit right before the high school entrance exams are about to start. She looks him in the eye and mentions that she saw his name at the very top of the city's freshman rankings today. She tells him he's destined to be a great awakened who protects the world one day. It sounds like she's already accepted a role in his shadow, sacrificing her own potential for his. Despite her grades, she claims she won't amount to anything anyway in her current state. She looks away, unable to meet his gaze as she speaks. She argues that instead of wasting time at school, she should start working as soon as possible to help support the household. Jiang Yan isn't buying a word of it. He knows she's hiding her real motivation and demands that she tell him the actual truth. Before she can respond, the front door creaks open. The sudden sound interrupts their tense conversation. A middle-aged man peeks his head inside, waving a hand tentatively toward the two siblings at the table. He scratches the back of his head, looking a bit sheepish. Sensing the heavy atmosphere, he asks if he's interrupting and should just come back later. This is Uncle Quan, and he looks completely drained. He sits on their couch with his head in his hand, explaining that his own microloan company is barely staying afloat. Jiang Yan watches him quietly. This man owns the loan company they've been relying on just to keep food on the table. For the past 2 years, they've had to borrow money from him just to cover their basic living expenses and bills. Jiang Yan finally puts the pieces together. Uncle Quan must have come by earlier today, which is exactly why his sister is so desperate to quit school and find a job. Jiang Yao sits there with her head down, looking defeated. She doesn't want her education to be another financial burden that drags her brother down. He realizes she's prepared to sacrifice her entire future and career just to make sure he has enough money to attend university. Jiang Yan stands up and faces the man directly. He asks Uncle Quan exactly how much they've borrowed in total over the last 2 years. Uncle Quan sighs, checking his records while looking sympathetic but desperate. He says it's around 43,000 credits, and that's not even counting the interest. Jiang Yan doesn't blink or hesitate. He pulls out a card and hands it over, telling him there's 50,000 on it. The extra 6,000 is to cover all the interest in one go. The room goes dead silent as the shock sinks in. Uncle Quan looks like he's seen a miracle, and Jiang Yao practically screams, demanding to know where he got that kind of money. Jiang Yan gives his sister a steady, reassuring look. He knows he has some explaining to do, but he's waiting for the outsider to leave before he says a word. Uncle Quan just stares at the card in his hand, completely stunned. He never expected the useless, F-rank student to produce a small fortune and clear the entire debt in a single afternoon. The look on the man's face says it all. The debt that had been crushing this family for years has just vanished in an instant. The man packs up and heads for the door, telling the siblings to reach out if they ever need anything else. Having been paid in full, he's more than happy to play the role of the helpful neighbor. As soon as the door shuts, Jiang Yao turns to her brother with a worried look. She's terrified the money came from something illegal that would make their parents roll in their graves. Jiang Yan just reaches out and pats her head, reassuring her that every cent was earned through his own hard work. He tells her she doesn't have to worry about the family's finances ever again. With a confident smile, he declares that he's on track to become the city's top-ranked freshman. The prize money from those achievements alone is enough to change their lives forever. He tells her there's no reason for her to sacrifice her own education just to put him through college. He's got the path ahead all figured out. Jiang Yao stares up at him, her eyes beginning to shimmer with tears as the weight of her burden finally starts to lift. She can hardly believe her brother has truly turned things around. He pushes the stack of cash toward her, insisting she take it because he has plenty more where that came from. It's time for them to stop living in survival mode. He explains that he's already discovered new ways to generate wealth. He just hasn't had the opportunity to fully exploit them yet. This is just the beginning of their new reality. He tells her to focus entirely on her own studies and training from now on. He's setting a high bar, and he expects her to keep up. With a playful grin, he warns her that the pressure is only going to get worse once he reaches the top. Everyone will know her as the sister of the world's greatest genius, so she better be ready to hold her own. Overwhelmed by his support, Jiang Yao's composure finally breaks. She bites her lip, tears streaming down her face as she looks at the brother who's changed so much. She throws her arms around him, sobbing as she promises never to disgrace the family name. Jiang Yan holds her, silent and steady, knowing the real work is about to begin. As he comforts her, Jiang Yan's mind is already moving toward his next objective. He needs to find a way to level up and make money simultaneously if he wants to secure that top scorer title. His eyes settle on a target outside the city's safe zone, the Nanrong Demon Rift. It's a dangerous place, but it's the perfect environment for someone with his unique skills to grind. Poison Dragon Valley is his specific destination, a high-risk area teeming with potential. It's filled with monsters that will provide the massive experience boost he needs right now. The valley is shrouded in a toxic green mist, a place where many hunters meet their end. But for Jiang Yan, the dense population of monsters makes it the fastest leveling ground available. Rumors circulate about a rare, dragon-type magical beast lurking in the deepest reaches of the valley. Its silhouette is a terrifying reminder of the dangers that wait in the dark. His ultimate goal is to obtain a dragon egg. If he can get his hands on one, his universal grafting skill will finally become active, unlocking a level of power most people can't even dream of. He imagines the possibilities, creating a powerful companion that could change the tide of any battle. The egg is the key to his long-term survival in this world. Even if the egg is out of reach, the valley is a gold mine for magic crystals. Selling those would ensure his sister never has to worry about money for the rest of her life. The decision is made. He's heading out tomorrow. Poison Dragon Valley will be the first major milestone in his conquest of the Demon Rift. The next day, a transport bus pulls up at the Nanrong Demon Rift station. The automated voice reminds passengers to step carefully as they exit into the heavily fortified area. Jiang Yan steps out and looks toward the massive rift entrance, a swirling vortex of red energy. To reach the uncharted wilderness, he has to navigate through the heart of the Rift City first. He enters the inner stronghold of the Nanrong Rift City, a sprawling metropolis built entirely within the rift. It's humanity's primary shield against the constant threat of demonic beast invasions. The city is separated from the real world by a single, massive spatial passage that hums with power. It's a surreal landscape where the sky is a permanent, bloody red. He remembers this place all too well from his past life. Back then, it was overseen by two high-level exalts who forced him to hand over a significant portion of his resources just to operate here. The streets are filled with hunters who have already equipped their most expensive gear. They walk with an air of superiority, ready for the violence that awaits outside the walls. Jiang Yan watches them pass, unimpressed. Compared to the powerful spatial ring he received from Yao Kexin, their high-end armor looks like cheap junk. That girl was clearly in a different league entirely. He navigates through the crowded streets until he reaches the East Gate. Stepping out through here is the fastest route to his target location. He pulls up a map of the surrounding zones, noting the various territories like the Wraith Pool and Mist Valley. Poison Dragon Valley is marked as relatively safe compared to the others, but that's a very loose definition. The monsters in that area typically range from level 13 to 18. For a normal hunter, it's a suicide mission, but for him, it's the sweet spot for rapid progression. He closes the map with a faint smile. Everything is going according to plan. This is exactly where he needs to be to break the game's rules. At the gate, he hands over his student ID for inspection. The official document clearly lists his profession as farmer and tinker, a combination that usually means a death sentence in the wilderness. The guard captain looks at the card, then up at Jiang Yan, his expression a mix of confusion and disbelief. He can't believe a dual F-rank awakened is actually trying to enter the valley alone. Jiang Yan just takes his card back and thanks the man for his concern. He calmly states that he intends to come back alive, showing no sign of the fear the captain expects. The captain's brow furrows as he watches the boy walk toward the gate. He hates seeing young kids throw their lives away, even if their ranking makes them seem insignificant. Determined to stop him, the captain reaches out to grab the boy's shoulder. He's about to physically bar the way when another guard suddenly intervenes, stopping him in his tracks. The second guard recognizes the kid immediately. He tells the captain to let him go, explaining that this isn't just any F rank. This is the student who completely shattered the profession gap. He continues, listing off Jiang Yan's recent feats, setting a new solo record at the training base and ranking first in both academics and combat. This kid is a local legend in the making. The captain stands there, stunned, as he watches the boys back. He can't wrap his head around how someone with a dual F rank could possibly be that powerful. It defies every logic the world is built on. Even the most gifted S-rank students from previous years haven't come close to matching the records this farmer has already set. Ignoring the shocked guards behind him, Jiang Yan walks through the glowing green portal. He steps directly into the heart of Poison Dragon Valley, where the real hunt begins. Jiang Yan notes the pervasive toxic gas of Poison Dragon Valley, an environmental hazard that makes every step dangerous. For a solo hunter, this atmosphere is just as lethal as the monsters. He pops an antidote pill, noting they cost $50 each and only last 3 hours. He's completely broke right now, so he has to make every second count before the protection wears off. A poison-winged lizard drops from the trees, its red eyes glowing as it shrieks a challenge. This level 13 beast is a common threat in the valley. He meets the charge with a precise blue energy slash, slicing through the creature as it lunges. The blue light of his blade carves a clean arc through the mist. He moves through the woods, taking down more lizards in rapid succession. The experience starts pouring in, with his level progression jumping significantly with every kill. He's satisfied with the results, noting that wilderness mobs are built different than the ones in the training grounds. This is exactly the kind of efficiency he was looking for. To speed things up even further, he decides to activate his Modify skill. His expression hardens as he prepares to break the rules of his own equipment. He turns his back on the path and holds his sword ready. The air around the blade ripples with digital artifacts as his power takes hold. A notification confirms the change. His cyan steel sword has been modified into a cyan steel sword. With a single letter change, he's ready to begin the real hunt. He plunges into a group of beasts, his blade glowing with an intense blue light as he unleashes a flurry of slashes. The modified sword carves through the pack like they're nothing. The level-ups hit one after another as he clears the area of lizards. He reaches level 16 in no time, his stats surging with the newfound power. He continues the massacre against larger groups of carrion poison toads and rotbats. By the time he finishes the clearing, he's already hit level 18. Exhausted but successful, he takes a break to drink some water, leaning against his sword. The toxic mist swirls around him, but the antidote pill is still holding strong. He sighs, frustrated that despite the mass slaughter, not a single mana crystal has dropped. His luck today is feeling absolutely garbage. Suddenly, a voice from behind asks if he was the one who killed all the monsters. He looks over his shoulder, his guard instantly up at the unexpected presence. 2 figures approach through the mist, staring at the pile of monster corpses he left behind. They seem genuinely shocked by the level of carnage a single hunter could cause. Standing before him is Lu Yuan ***, a tall and pale S-rank student with dark blue hair and a sharp gaze. He's the eldest young master of the Lu family and one of the city's top-ranked Gale assassins. Beside him is Liu Tao ***, an aggressive lackey with tan skin and brown hair tied back in a ponytail. Wearing a purple and white vest, he glares at Jiang Yan with an indignant expression. Jiang Yan stands up and looks them over, coolly asking if they were expecting someone else to have done the killing. He isn't intimidated by their gear or their rank. Liu Tao *** immediately bristles at his dismissive tone, yelling to ask if Jiang Yan has any idea who he's talking to. He's clearly used to people bowing to his boss's reputation. Lu Yuan stops his lackey, admitting he's impressed by Jiang Yan's skills and offering him a chance to team up. He recognizes the raw talent hiding behind the low rank. Jiang Yan doesn't even hesitate, telling them he isn't interested and walking away. He thinks to himself that they just want to leech his experience for free. Liu Tao is ready to explode, asking why they didn't just teach the arrogant kid a lesson right then and there. He can't stand being ignored by someone he considers trash. Lu Yuan watches Jiang Yan leave, his eyes glowing with a faint purple light as he acknowledges the boy's potential. He tells his lackey to wait, promising he'll give him a chance to make a move the next time they meet. Liu Tao slams his fists together, vowing to beat the dual F-rank so hard he'll be looking for his teeth on the forest floor. His arrogance is only matched by his short temper. An hour later, Jiang Yan is still pushing through the dense, toxic trees. He has one antidote pill left and wants to hit level 19 before the timer runs out. He walks through the clearing, the green mist swirling around his ankles as he searches for more targets. The silence of the woods is unsettling. He's disappointed that he hasn't seen any trace of a rare monster yet. He was hoping for a bigger challenge to speed up his leveling. He recalls the rumors of a powerful dragon-type demonic beast lurking in this valley. So far, the reality hasn't lived up to the hype. Suddenly, he senses movement behind him and spins around, his eyes wide as red danger markers flash in his vision. A sneak attack is coming from the shadows. A massive, bumpy purple tongue lashes out from the mist, aimed directly at him. He barely manages to leap back in time to avoid the strike. He brings his sword down to block the second strike, but the impact is heavier than he expected. He grunts as the shock travels up his arms, knotting the monster's incredible defense. His cyan steel sword didn't even cut through the surface. He realizes he's up against something far stronger than the common mobs he's been farming. A massive, hulking shadow rises from the mist in front of him, looming over the trees. The ground shakes as the creature moves. The Miasma Demon Toad King reveals itself, a level 20 boss tier monster. It's a massive purple creature with yellow eyes and lethal innate skills like mutated toad skin and bone-rotting venom. The heavy, webbed feet of the beast slam into the grass, each toe tipped with a sharp claw. The size of the thing is staggering. Instead of being afraid, Jiang Yan lets out a sharp grin. He's finally found a boss, and he intends to claim his first mana crystal of the day from its corpse. The Toad King lashes out with its giant tongue snare, the long purple limb whipping through the air with incredible force. The ground is torn up as the muscle hits. The tongue moves with blinding speed, wrapping around Jiang Yan from multiple angles. It's a complex attack designed to trap and crush the target instantly. He remains calm, his eyes glowing as he analyzes the attack pattern. He's already figured out exactly how to break the skill and turn the tide of the battle. He activates Modify, targeting the enemy's innate skill directly. A digital ripple spreads out as he changes the giant tongue snare into a giant tongue snarl. The massive tongue suddenly twists and knots itself into a tangled mess. The Toad King is left staring in confusion, its primary weapon now completely useless and tied up in its own mouth. Jiang Yan leaps into the air, taking advantage of the moment while the beast's tongue is still tangled. He raises his sword high, determined to end the fight with one decisive strike to the head. His blade slams into the skull of the Miasma Demon Toad King, throwing off a shower of sparks upon impact. The monster's skin is far tougher than any ordinary creature he's faced before, resisting the edge of his steel. Jiang Yan's eyes widen in shock as his blade fails to penetrate the thick hide. He realizes with a start that he can't break through the creature's natural defense with his current power level. The Miasma Demon Toad King activates its mutated toad skin skill, causing its purple hide to glow with an eerie blue light. A system notification confirms that its defense has been significantly increased, making it virtually invulnerable. To make matters worse, a system alert appears. The modification on the toad's tongue has expired. Because the target's level exceeds his own, the effect was far shorter than he anticipated. The knotted tongue instantly reverts to its original giant tongue snare form as the digital artifacts fade away. Jiang Yan grits his teeth, realizing the timing couldn't have been worse for the skill to fail. He lands back on the ground and creates some distance, reflecting on the major drawback of using Modify on high-level enemies. At his current level, he simply can't maintain the effects for long. He knows that fighting targets above his level causes the duration of his modifications to be drastically reduced. If his luck is bad, the skill might even fail entirely, leaving him completely exposed in the middle of a fight. The Toad King doesn't give him a moment to recover, lashing out with its tongue again in a rapid pink blur. The prehensile muscle whips through the air, forcing Jiang Yan to stay on the move. Jiang Yan stands his ground as the tongue looms overhead, the blue energy of his sword ready for one last effort. He realizes he'll have to make a massive gamble if he wants to win this encounter. A sharp, confident grin spreads across his face as he prepares his next move. He isn't out of tricks yet, and he's willing to risk everything on a dangerous modification. He focuses his energy into his ring, the blue glow of his skill intensifying as he targets the Demonfall saber. He prepares to rewrite the fundamental nature of his own weapon. The sword is engulfed in a chaotic storm of colorful digital artifacts, warping its shape as the modification takes hold. The air around the blade crackles with raw, unbridled power. The transformation is complete. The Demonfall saber has been modified into the Demon King saber. Intense red energy erupts from the blade, staining the surrounding mist a deep, bloody crimson. Jiang Yan grips the new weapon as a massive red eye opens on the hilt, staring at the world with pure, ancient malice. Dark, swirling energy surrounds him like a violent hurricane. The system identifies the weapon as the Demon King blade, which contains the will of the seventh Demon King, Blood Spirit Asura. It possesses overwhelming nether demonic energy, but grants an uncontrollable berserk power that threatens to consume the wielder. Jiang Yan struggles to maintain his composure as the sword's weight and malevolent aura threaten to overwhelm his mind. He knows he needs to kill the Demon Toad King fast before he loses himself to the blade. He lunges forward, swinging the crimson blade in a wide arc. "Take my blade!" he shouts, the energy from the strike carving a bright red path through the darkness. A colossal pillar of red and white energy erupts from the impact, obliterating the miasma Demon Toad King in an instant. The monster is reduced to nothing but dust by the terrifying power of the Demon King. The explosion clears, leaving a massive crater in the forest floor as Jiang Yan drops to one knee. He gasps for air, his body trembling from the sudden and absolute drain of his stamina. He realizes with a start that a single strike with the Demon King blade took everything he had. He's completely vulnerable, his strength spent in that one overwhelming moment of violence. He looks down at his hand and sees red, vine-like veins crawling from the sword up his arm. The cursed weapon is actively eroding his body, feeding on his remaining life force. He struggles to reach out and activate Modify to reverse the change, but his vision is swimming. He can barely keep his eyes open as the dark energy continues to spread. Jiang Yan collapses completely, his face pressed into the dirt as his strength fails him. He's out of stamina and can no longer use his powers to defend himself. A booming, arrogant voice echoes in his mind, mocking his human fragility. The seventh Demon King Blood Spirit Asura speaks through the blade, demanding a heavy price for the power he dared to borrow. The Demon King's presence manifests as a giant, singular eye surrounded by swirling red and black energy. It treats Jiang Yan like a lowly insect, laughing at his desperate state. The spirit boasts that even if its true body cannot descend into this world, its essence is still enough to enslave the human race. The red aura intensifies, flooding Jiang Yan's vision with malice. The Demon King claims that 1/10 of its power is sufficient to destroy human civilization. It intends to use Jiang Yan's body as a vessel to reclaim its ancient glory. Despite his exhaustion, Jiang Yan forces himself to focus, a blue digital glow appearing on his forehead. He tells the entity that he already expected this betrayal and has a plan to deal with it. He recalls that this isn't the first time he's had to modify a Demon King's weapon. He pulls out his original sword and prepares to strike at the consciousness dwelling within the cursed blade. He unleashes a concentrated burst of blue modification energy directly into the eye on the Demon King blade's hilt. The digital ripples clash with the red demonic aura in a violent explosion of light. The red energy is forcefully suppressed, the demonic aura being sucked back into the sword as the eye is struck. The chaotic energy storm starts to subside as Jiang Yan's power takes hold. The seventh Demon King Blood Spirit Asura lets out a final, distorted roar as its presence is silenced. It vows to return and tear Jiang Yan to pieces, but its voice is cut short as the connection is severed. The red energy is sealed back into the blade, leaving only a faint, harmless glow behind. The forest is once again silent, the threat of the Demon King temporarily averted. Jiang Yan lies in the crater, gasping for air as the red veins on his arm slowly retreat. He's managed to survive the erosion by the narrowest of margins. He notes that once he pierced the consciousness vessel accidentally summoned into the blade, the erosion stopped. His gamble paid off, but it came at a staggering physical cost. He decides to rest until his stamina recovers enough to change the sword's name back to normal. He knows he can't risk keeping it in its current form for a moment longer than necessary. He sits against a rock, reflecting on his previous life and the similar disasters he faced with his modify skill. He's seen this kind of power before, and he knows how dangerous it is. He recalls a time when the ninth Demon King Thunder Spirit Calamitibing descended through a similar modification accident. In his memory, a massive, shadowy figure with a single glowing eye loomed over a Gothic cathedral. That incident was far more lethal than this one, requiring a guardian general above level 80 to step in and save the city. The memory serves as a grim warning of what can happen when his power goes out of control. He looks at the Demon King blade, realizing that attacking the consciousness vessel within the weapon is the only true way to subdue such ancient entities. It's a secret he learned through bitter experience. He stares into the mist, wondering if these terrifying beings are truly just creatures from the Demon Rift, or if they represent something much older and more dangerous. The mystery remains as he waits for his strength to return. Jiang Yan looks down at the cursed blade, the red veins on his arm still a grim reminder of the power he unleashed. He wonders if these demon kings originate from a world even more horrifying than his own. After catching his breath, he decides he's rested enough to gather his spoils. He activates Modify, safely reverting the Demon King blade back into the Demonfall blade as a digital aura surrounds the steel. He walks toward the center of the clearing where the boss fell, eager to see if his struggle was truly worth the risk. He notes that for a boss of this caliber, the rewards should be significant. A large, glowing purple crystal floats amidst the dissipating miasma. He identifies it as a level 20 boss magic crystal, a rare and valuable reward that pulses with intense energy. A genuine smile spreads across his face as he contemplates the wealth he's just acquired. He estimates the market value to be at least 100,000, realizing he's finally struck it rich. He uses his abilities to collect the massive corpse of the Demon Toad King and the other monsters he defeated earlier. These remains are filled with premium materials that are sure to fetch a handsome price in the city. He turns his attention to his next move, deciding that the official market won't offer a fair enough profit for such high-quality loot. He plans to head for the underground black market in Nanrong City instead. As he prepares to depart, a series of system windows appear, notifying him of his victory. He receives massive experience rewards for slaying both the Miasma Demon Toad King and an unknown creature. His level jumps from 18 to 20 in an instant, a significant boost for a single day of hunting. He realizes the unknown creature reward must have come from suppressing the consciousness of the blood spirit Asura. He ponders a potential loop, summoning these entities, defeating them, and gaining massive experience to grind all the way to level 100 on the spot. A diagram representing the summon-loop-summon cycle appears in his mind. However, he sees a terrifying vision of a giant red eye looming over his home city. He understands that if he ever loses control of such a summon, the entire civilization could be annihilated along with him. His expression hardens with caution as he decides not to take such an unnecessary risk. He knows the weight of the power he wields and the devastating consequences of its misuse. He recalls that reaching every 10th level grants him a new innate skill. He opens his status to see what new abilities he's awakened at level 20, his curiosity piqued. A large blue system window lists his new skills: the extra innate skill disassembly and the farmer innate skill pest immunity. He reads through their detailed effects and requirements. He is pleased with the new additions, especially disassembly, which he identifies as an excellent tool for generating wealth from raw materials. It offers a chance to double his rewards through reward critical. He turns his attention to pest immunity, his mind already racing with the possibilities of his modification skill. He realizes he can transform it into the divine skill damage immunity by changing just a single character in its name. While a skill as powerful as damage immunity is bound to have many restrictions, he knows it will be an invaluable asset in life or death situations. He considers how to best utilize this potential power. With his new level, skills, and loot secured, Jiang Yan turns and leaps away from the clearing. He leaves the Poison Dragon Valley behind, heading back toward the city to prepare for his next move. Something is lurking in the trees above. A shadowy figure watches from the branches, hidden by the thick foliage. Jiang Yan spots the observer immediately. He recognizes the guy as a lackey for the young master, Lu Yuan. A hand grips a dagger, ready to strike from the shadows. Liu Tao jumps down and reveals himself, identifying as a level 17 assassin. He mocks Jiang Yan for being a dual F-rank trash before closing in. The assassin blurs into motion as he prepares to attack. He lunges forward with his daggers drawn, activating extreme speed. The skill boosts his agility by 30% as he tries to overwhelm the F-rank recruit. Liu Tao grins, convinced he's already won the fight. He can't imagine a low-rank recruit keeping up with a primary combat class. Jiang Yan finds the whole display boring. He stands his ground, completely unfazed by the sudden burst of speed. A bright flash of steel cuts through the air as a counterstrike connects. Liu Tao is thrown back, coughing up blood as a deep gash opens across his chest. He never even saw the blade move. Shaking and confused, Liu Tao can't understand how he was outpaced. He realizes Jiang Yan just pulled a high-quality sword from an expensive spatial ring. Jiang Yan walks through the glowing motes of energy, looking completely bored by the ambush. He looks down at the fallen assassin and asks if he really thought his class rank made him invincible. He explains that training, stats, and awareness are what actually dictate the outcome of a battle. Standing over the wounded man, Jiang Yan makes it clear that Liu Tao isn't even qualified to fight him. He comments that maybe things would be different if the assassin's master showed up instead. A purple projectile streaks through the air, slicing a falling leaf in half. Jiang Yan looks up just as the new challenger arrives. Speak of the devil. Lu Yuan drops from the trees with a heavy overhead strike. Jiang Yan blocks the blow, their weapons clashing in a spray of sparks. The S-rank student leans into the clash, complimenting the quality of Jiang Yan's sword. Jiang Yan smiles back, acknowledging that Lu Yuan's blade is also quite impressive. They both leap back, creating some space as they stare each other down in the mist. Lu Yuan isn't there for a chat. He wants to test the strength of the guy ranked number 1 among the freshmen. Jiang Yan figures the guy is just salty about the rankings and is looking for a reason to fight. Since a simple duel is a waste of time, Jiang Yan proposes a wager. The loser has to hand over their weapon. Lu Yuan accepts the bet instantly. He activates his S-rank Gale Cloak, which pumps his agility up by a massive 80%. Jiang Yan rests his sword on his shoulder, already thinking about the new addition to his treasury.